Hi, my name's John. Welcome to another Wednesday catch-up. I'm pleased to say I'm a lot better than I was last Wednesday. I had a little bit of a relapse, a little bit of a downer, but I'm back now on track. I'm not right, but I am a lot better than I was. This is thanks to possibly a little bit of medication, but mainly good friends and a real solid wife. Having people around you can trust and talk to makes a massive difference. It really does. Right, so tonight's video, last Friday I took the wife out, we just went out for a drive and we ended up going to Holy Island. Neither of us have ever been there, so I had a run across the causeway, had a look around the prairie and whatnot. It was absolutely blowing a gale, it was incredibly windy. Then we found some lime kilns and I had a look around them. I show a little bit of video. I've got a lot more video to edit, but I show a little bit just to show you what the Holy Island looks like. I'm also going to put part 10 of the lathe tutorial on, which is all about using dies on a lathe. I'm on a little road trip with the wife Deborah. She's actually driving and we're going across the causeway to Holy Island. I've never been to Holy Island before. You can see it's actually the sea on both sides of the road. We're well within the tidal times. If you happen to be an idiot and you get caught out by the tide, I think this is a high point and there's a little refuge there and you can go and hide in there while the sea destroys your car, which happens quite often. There's actually somebody sitting in there. The land's obviously very flat, so when the tide comes in it really rolls in a hurry. Debsy. Must have been somewhere else when it was actually in its heyday. Some really nice stonework, really old gravestones. There's Debsy. Quite amazing the way the soft sandstone's been eroded with the wind and the weather. Solid oak door, all proper stuff. bit of glass, a little bit of industry, some nice big lime kilns. There, I can't wait to get it there to our next ball. Hi, my name is John. Welcome to a series of short videos all about the metal turning lathe. In the last episode we did taps. In this episode I'm going to do dies, so I suppose I could call this one episode 10B. Anyway, last week I did show the various types of dies. This week I'm going to show you how to use them. That's enough talking. We'll bring the camera in, do a bit more talking, but also do a little bit of demonstrating. That's a conventional 8mm die in a straightforward die handle or die holder. It's got writing on the side of the die, tells you what size it is. It's M8 standard pitch. Also, the side with the writing on normally has a lead on, and that's the side of the die you start with, so that would screw on that way. You can turn the die over to finish the thread off and use that side to get up to a shoulder, which I will show a little bit later on. These are used for putting threads on, obviously 8mm diameter bar. You can put the thread on in a vise just by holding the die and turning it onto the job. The beauty of the lathe is you can get it dead square to the job. That's the secret of using the lathe, to get clean, sharp threads that are square and parallel to the workpiece. I've got a piece of hexi bar there. That's the piece we put the threads in last week. I'm going to machine this end down to 8mm and put some threads on there. It's a real soft grade of mild steel, the sort of stuff you make railings out of. I'm still at 8mm, it's 8.8mm. To help the die start, I'm going to put a little chamfer or a little lead on the end of there. A simple way to do it is a file. So we've got a nice little lead on there for the die to start on. And when the die goes that way with the writing, so obviously we're not just going to wind it on and end up with it pissed like that. We need some method of holding it on nice and square. Simple way is to use the tailstock. So that simply goes up against there. What I do is use the end of that quill. I've got an old most tapered adapter, I'm not sure what it was for, but I use the end of that, which means that the quill is further away and you've got room to turn, so that fits up against there. A little bit of thread cutting compound, a little bit of weight on with one hand on the quill, and that starts and goes on, and you keep chasing it up to keep it square. Don't be tempted to hold that and start the lathe up, because the lathe will win. It's going to hurt you. That is a snap-on die holder that I've had for a long time, and the handles were straight. I don't need to say anything else other than the handles were straight, and I tried to use that in a lathe, in the lathe mode. Another method, and by far the preferred method, is to use a tailstock die holder. There's the one that I've made for holding big old Whitwell dies. There's that homemade one there. This is a one that's been manufactured. You see it's got a taper on that fits in the tailstock. The die goes into there. I'll use this one just to demonstrate how it works. And I'm going to use a 12mm die. I've got some 12mm bar in the chuck. This happens to be a split die. Got a split in there so you can adjust it. Right, so the die simply drops in there once again right into the outside, because that's the lead on the die. That little grub screw there is the one that expands the die. I've got a little nip on that one. These are the two that hold it in and actually do the driving. Nip them two up. So that's held nice and snugly and firmly in there. It's flat up against the backstop, so it's got to be square. That fits into the tailstock on the lathe, like that. That's firmly located in the tailstock, got to be on centre height, got to be square to the job. That can't turn, but what it can do is slide in and out. So we're going to use the lathe to power the material through that die. Right, I put a slight lead on the end of there for the die starts. Simply wind that up till it touches the end of the bar, back it off a little bit, and we'll start the lathe up in a nice slow gear. As you wind that on, it starts to cut the threads. You can see how that's getting pulled forward by itself, just cutting the thread. Simply reverse the lathe. That slides back off. Right, that's a really nice 12mm thread. I'll do it again, but this time on a wider angle so you can see exactly what goes on. First thing is to put a little lead on the end of the bar. Notice I've got a handle on the file, and I've got no dangly bits of jewellery or nothing that's going to get caught. A little bit of cutting paste. Bring the tailstock up, lock it off, and we'll wind that in until it touches the bar. Start the lathe up, nice slow gear. That's actually 40 RPM, which is as slow as the lathe will go. Wind the feed on, start to cut the thread, then you can let go, and that will pull on by itself. Right, so now it's pulling itself on, and that gate keeping it nice and straight, so we're getting a nice straight true thread. That will just keep on going like that. Luckily I can reverse the lathe, and that just comes back basically by itself. There you have it, nice, sharp, clean thread. That's a 12mm die nut, which is used mainly to repair threads, but it will also cut the thread. Once again, where the rating is and the size, that's where the big end is, that's the lead end. Right, so that's cutting the thread, no problem at all. Once again, don't be tempted to try and hold that and turn the lathe on, because the lathe will wane, right? You might see people jamming it on the bed like that and set it away. I'm certainly not going to demonstrate it. I didn't do it, I'm not going to demonstrate it. Now that has actually cut a tighter thread than that bit, because we did set the die up to cut a slightly slacker thread. So that's like 12mm-ish, and that one there will be dead on 12mm. Often if I'm screw cutting something and I've got a die or a die nut, I'll run the die nut down to finish it off. But those threads have got to be square to that piece of bar, they can't be anything else. That's the idea of using dies in the lathe, especially for a standard thread. So a tailstock die holder is a really handy bit of kit. So that's the one that I made, and that just gets wound on by hand like that. Maybe an idea to do a video on making a tailstock die holder, because it is something you're going to use all the time. Once again, time to say thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please do, it is important. And don't forget, laughter and talking is always the best medicine. The worst thing you can possibly do is bottle things up inside. Believe me, I've tried it, it doesn't work. Anyway, thanks for watching.